as wedding season has come upon me here in Toronto, before it got too crazy, I had some organizational things that I've been putting off for so long, and I thought a few weeks ago, I have got to do this now. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna make a video about this little studio tour so that it would get me motivated to do my organizational things. And I thought it would be cool to show you my little studio where I work. A young budding photographer, I always imagined success as a photographer being a studio space where I had lots of gear, where I had tons of things, and if I got that, that's when I would be successful, and that's when I would feel successful, and that's what would make me successful. But what I've learned is that's not necessarily true. And in my case, I've actually had to get rid of equipment and focused on my ideas and what I'm offering to people. And that's where I found the most success in my business. So if you're watching this and you're an aspiring photographer and you don't have some of these things, I will say having a lot of these things is really nice. Having the space to work is really nice, but you don't need any of this. I think about this thing that my dad would always say when we were going on a vacation, and I'd be like flying around trying to pack, like, do I need these shoes? Do I need this? Do I need this tripod? Or like, and I remember him always saying, okay, like, don't stress about if you've forgotten something in your suitcase or whatever. All you need is your passport and a credit card. You can get everything else. Like, don't be stressing and worrying about, the thing that you missed. Do your best packing and then move on and enjoy, don't be so stressed about it all. And I think that translates so well to photography. I think I spent years being stressed about, I don't feel like I have the right studio. I don't feel like I have the right space. I don't feel like I have this or this or this. At the end of the day, all you need is a camera and one lens, and you can do so much with that. So I encourage you, if all you have is a camera and one lens, there is so much you can do just with that. So welcome to the Cleland Studios studio. This is where my wife Allie and I work on our photography businesses. We primarily are wedding photographers, if you haven't seen videos on this channel before, but I also do a few other things within the photography world. I would say the main things that I do besides wedding photography are interior photography as well as portraits. Let me think if I'm missing anything there. Yeah, so those are kind of the main things that I do, and we're able to accomplish all of those things in this place that we work. But I do shoot a good bit of portraits in here. Usually it's probably only 1 to 2 people can realistically kind of fit in here, but it's a perfect little space for what I need. First, let's take you over to the workstation area. This, I've gotta say, like if you asked me, 5-10 years ago, if I would have 2 iMacs on a beautiful white desk, I would have told you that's the dream come true. And I will say having this clean, beautiful workspace is truly my dream. So the table that we actually work on is an IKEA dining room table, and it's kind of massive. The reason I bought this and the reason I love it is because of how deep it is and how wide it is. There is so much space, and I love having space. For the most part, the ideal kind of scenario is that we keep this completely clean, except, for my keyboard and mouse, my phone, and then I like to just have my notepad, and then also my daily planner that I've designed that I use every day to kind of keep myself organized, and our pens, knives, and things like that we use pretty frequently. And then also my black or white Yeti cup. I love Yeti cups because I like my water unreasonably cold, and it does that for me. And then the occasional coffee, or the very occasional coffee cup. But ideally, I love to have a little clean workspace. It helps me not get distracted and keeps me focused on the work that I'm doing. In terms of hard drives and storage, we keep most of our hard drives actually attached to one computer. So even though this is kind of my computer and that's Allie's computer, we do kind of keep that one over there as kind of the primary editing and culling. We have this little kind of hard drive shelf that I bought years ago that I really love because it keeps my desk clean. And that's very important to me. A quick note about our office chairs. They're from an online store called Laura Davidson Direct, not to be mistaken with Laura Ashley or something like that. But these are very comfortable and beautiful chairs. I love the black and leather detail, even though I don't know if they sell them anymore. They're a limited edition, but definitely a chair to look into if you're in the market. The next area of the studio is my camera storage. Now, this is something that I've wanted and looked around for possibly a year. There's a common theme of IKEA here, but IKEA sold these glass shelves and I wanted a white one, but they no longer sold them. So I had been scouring like Facebook Marketplace for honestly like a year for one of these to show up eventually. And it finally did show up this past winter. And no joke, we were organizing a time to show up. Actually, Allie's mom was in town, and we set up the time to go and pick up this thing, and it just so happened to coincide with possibly the worst storm in like years. And it was like a 40-minute drive from here. So it was a scary time, but we got the camera shelf. The thing that I really love about this camera storage is the fact that I like to be able to see the cameras. They're beautiful things and I want to be able to see them. But I feel like it's a good way to store kind of a lot of things, but not have, it look very cluttery. Even though we're using, our cameras usually on the weekends for shooting weddings, there are a good bit of times when I'm using a camera during the week, or I'm, going out for a portrait session, or, doing some interior photography where I need to kind of reorganize my bags and I'm taking different cameras for different jobs. And so I liked having one central area that I could keep all of my camera gear so that, when I need something, I can go over there and pick something out that I need. Now, my pride and joy, my light stand box. Now, this thing may have taken an embarrassingly amount of time to build. It maybe took me 2 weeks. Not like full time, but it did take a long time, especially because I don't have a work studio. I was just out the back of our apartment, kind of like on this driveway that we have. And all I really had was like one circular saw and I had to do everything with it. So it was a really fun project. It took way too long, but this is the reason why I justified spending so much time on building this thing, was that I have looked for storage for a long time and there isn't anything very good. It's either ugly or it doesn't work very well. So I designed this kind of box on wheels that, is movable in terms of like the size that you can put things in. And so, yeah, I'm able to store everything. I'm looking over here because it's over here right now. But I'm able to store my light stands. I'm able to store my LEDs, some cables in there, and it's on wheels. So I can move it around very easily. That, like, having light stands in this studio used to drive me nuts because I just had a pile of them in the corner with no real solution of how to keep them organized. The only thing that I'm going to change to this is actually upgrade the wheels to make them bigger, because right now we have like really tiny wheels and it's horrible to move from like the hardware to the carpet. So that's the only thing I'm going to change for that. But so far, after having it for 3 days. Hello? After having this cart for 3 days now, it has been, so great. The final area of this studio tour is my kind of organizational tower, as it were. This is something that I've put off for a long time. And that's why this video was so helpful in being like, okay, I'm going to finally put this thing together and finally organize it. Like, I didn't have this shelving unit thing in here before. I kind of kept this all over, like I kind of had a table here with our printer and a few things on there, and then everything else was stored kind of in this box in the corner that's now, used for personal stuff. But these bins, these different sized bins from IKEA, were a lifesaver in terms of organizing things and having easy access to things like my, film development chemicals, cords and clips and paper, and all of that stuff is so great in keeping your kind of office and studio clean and organized, and helps you be so much more productive. The thing that I am most excited about, and took me quite a while, is that I, custom built this drawer in order to kind of like add on to this shelving unit. I built a box, put a front on it, put put drawer slides on the side, and it is the charging drawer. Having all of these cables and different charging ports and all of this stuff drove me crazy. And for the most part, I charged batteries kind of on the floor in the corner, and it was horrible. It was not tidy or clean. And so I kind of designed this drawer to hold all of the things that need to be charged. And it just made it so much easier to actually charge things, because I could find, where the charger was in that moment, but also to keep them organized. So I have kind of two different sections. So I put uncharged batteries actually in a bin that I just added this morning. And then once they get charged, I take them out of the drawer and put them in this bin on the top section that's labeled batteries. And so if I'm ever looking for a battery, if they're in that bin, I know that they're charged, because there'd be so many times where there'd just be like a bunch of batteries in the corner, and I would have no idea, like, are those charged? Are they not? And I would have to just charge them again to make sure. The next shelf holds my printer, my beautiful printer. And I actually got these kind of magazine files to hold all of that printer paper. It's a really great way to kind of store it. I actually got another one as well to store just a binder that we use on wedding stays, and my laptop. And then in the bottom is where we store all of our cases. And this is where I used to keep all my cameras and all the time, like in these cases. But I love the fact that I can, at the end of the job, at the end of the wedding, I take all my gear out, I put it in the case, and then that's kept mostly empty throughout the week for if I have a different type of job to shoot. And just every week I'm able to reorganize it and make sure everything is in there and working correctly and all of that stuff. And then the only other thing to mention is that I do use backdrops when I'm doing, a portrait session in here right in the studio, and I store those just on the side of this. I found it was just like a perfect little area to store backdrops. But one thing is that I made sure when I was designing my light stand box that I could put paper rolls or backdrops in these slots and in these storage containers as well. So I hope you enjoyed this little studio tour. I also wanted to let you know that I've had a bunch of requests for some presets and specific, things in photography that people wanted help on. I'm currently working on making my light and airy preset available soon, so keep your eyes out for that. I'm gonna be sharing that on the channel soon. And also a few courses, kind of really specific in-depth courses that if you want to go onto another level of learning things, especially about wedding photography and, using film and digital photography in your work, and if you really like that light and airy feel, and hopefully will be incredibly helpful for you if you want to learn more. If you liked this video, make sure you subscribe and you hit the like button. It's like the best kind of digital high five.